In this update, we've got a massive heat dome really building across the middle of the country, bringing some of the hottest temperatures they've seen in many years. So let's break down the details for you in this update. Take a look at the setup because, wow, it's really starting to maximize itself today, but it really will build across the middle of the country as we get deeper into the weekend and especially into early next week. While further south, we'll be watching kind of an easterly wave that's going to be coming across Florida, swinging into the Gulf of Mexico. That could impact parts of South Texas. But out here in the Pacific, that is Hurricane Hilary, and Hilary has really strengthened in a big way. You can take a look at Hilary. It is now a Category 4, 145 mile per hour hurricane out there in the Eastern Pacific. You can actually see the eye that is on it, and it's already spreading the feeder bands out into Baja California, and that is going to continue to traverse northbound and will actually impact portions of Southern California into Sunday, going into your Monday timeframe. So here's the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. Definitely has it as a 145 mile per hour hurricane, 942 millibar. Low pressure, it's moving west-northwest about 13 miles an hour, and it still could strengthen a little bit more. So yeah, it is expected to possibly go up to 150. There's probably a small chance that it could actually max out at a Category 5 at some point, but then it's expected to weaken and continue to hit and make actually landfall in the Baja California around Sunday, around noontime, as a pretty significant hurricane. And that's going to continue northbound. And yes, the National Hurricane Center actually has this making landfall near San Diego into the morning hours on Monday as a tropical storm, bringing very heavy rain in some of these areas. This is their dry season, folks. So if you are in the market for a weather station, I definitely highly recommend the Weatherflow Tempest weather station. It's actually the one I personally had for the last 3 years. The cool thing about it is it's a 5-in-1 system. It's all solar. So once you set it up, and it takes only about 10 minutes to install, it's kind of a set it and forget it. They got a convenient app you can download on the phone. My whole family actually has this app, so they're, stay abreast of the weather. And they have a desktop version, so you can be a part of the 55,000 other ones that have the Tempest right now. And so if you do like to purchase one of these, I have a discount code. This is PALPONDER10 for 10% off and free shipping. So I'll actually have the link in the description below if you'd like to purchase one for yourself. So wow. So let's talk about the heat, folks, as this is going to be the real deal. Texas is just on fire. Dallas hit 109 yesterday. They're likely going to hit 110, 111. So you're approaching 115 yesterday in the Wichita Falls region. These are numbers they have not seen in many years, folks, and that heat will expand and lift across the Central Plains. You can already see the hundreds spreading all the way to the Canadian border, as much of the middle of the country is going to be engulfed in this massive heat dome and going to take over a multi-state event and bringing some of the hottest temperatures you've seen in many, many, many years. So here's the setup going into Sunday. So you've got very heavy rain really taking shape across Baja California, and this is going to be lifting northbound. So you got that easterly wave that's coming across Florida, bringing some rain showers for them. That's going to swing into the Gulf of Mexico, so we'll be watching this, but a lot of guidance has it hinting towards South Texas, but all eyes will be on Hilary by then as it's making a beeline towards California. And in fact, this is serious, folks. Again, these are areas that are their driest. San Diego only averages like 1/10 of an inch for the entire month of August, folks. And they're under a moderate risk for excessive rainfall. Even Yuma that only averages 3 inches for the entire year. So very concerned about very hot, flash flooding, especially within this high risk zone. That's a rare feat to even be issued, and that's all culprit of Hilary that's going to be impacting these areas into Las Vegas, and this is going to swing northbound. So as it continues to swing northbound, it'll bring some very heavy rain well inland into Nevada and eventually headed up into portions of Idaho as well, with heavier rain for them. But Yeah, there's the middle of the country, folks, as that heat dome will just expand away from Texas and lift into Oklahoma through Missouri, start impacting a good part of Illinois and goes all the way to Iowa and even all the way up into Minnesota. This is going to be a massive area that's really going to be taking shape, especially heading into this weekend, going to early next week. And there's the setup for Monday, folks. Look at that massive area under a 600 DM of high pressure. That's about as strong as it ever gets, folks. I mean, that is some intense heat, and that's really expanding literally from Colorado all the way to the Carolinas, as far north as Minnesota, down to Texas, and all the way into northern portions of Florida. That is just a massive heat dome, bringing some of the hottest temperatures you've seen. And underneath that, that's a rare feat in itself. It's a rare map to see a precipitation map to look like this. You gotta have a massive heat dome to get something like this, and it's exactly what you're gonna have. So there's the heavier rain that's gonna be impacting, with Hilary into the Southwest and heading into California, going into Nevada. And yes, that's some of that rain was gonna be sneaking into the eastern portions of Oregon, heading into Idaho, as well as into Montana. While really, any storms is going to be blocked from that ridge of high pressure is going to be well to the north. So yes, areas into portions of the Northeast and New England's going to still be on the cooler side and actually on the rainier side, while much of the South is going to be really dry. And you have to go to Florida, and then you have to go to all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico. And yes, by Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll be watching that storm likely going to be impacting portions of Texas with some beneficial rains. But between now and then, the heat is going to be the real deal, folks. We're talking widespread triple digits, if not 110. And a lot of these areas bringing some of the, again, the hottest temperatures you've seen. So this is some dangerous heat. And yes, heading into Tuesday, going into Wednesday, we'll be watching that little tropical system. I don't think it actually becomes a storm, but it's going to bring heavier rains into these areas, and it's favoring every update. It feels the effects of that ridge. So the stronger the ridge is, the further south this gets pushed. So yeah, it's getting more and more likely it's going to be South Texas, heading into, a good part of maybe the Rio Grande Valley region, down there in that area. But here's the latest icon kind of implying that as it pushes further and further south, it's not going to be North Texas. It's probably not going to be most of Central Texas. It's likely going to be, heading into South Texas and pushing southward into Eastern Texas. And in fact, it could be even in portions of El Paso by the time we get into a week or 8 days from now. I mean, all these areas need rain. There's no question. So wherever this comes in, it's going to be dropping some, beneficial rain. But right now, the guidance actually has it hinting at more likely South Texas for this particular system. And you can definitely see in the latest kind of the European update as well, kind of implying that. So every update, it's been pushing further and further south. And I expect that trend to continue as it's just feeling the effects. The stronger this ridge gets over the Missouri Valley here, it's just going to have a lot of sinking air with it and push this system even further and further south and squeeze it into South Texas, heading into most of the Southwest, Texas region. But even a week from now, I mean, this ridge really doesn't go anywhere, folks. I mean, this is going to be some of your hottest August in a long time for many folks down there in the South. So this is heat. It just has no let up. There's no let up in sight with this heat. As we go into Friday the 25th, it's still encompassing a good area of real estate across the South, the Southeast, and much of Florida here. While that area off the Atlantic coast has those little tropical waves, it could be near the Bahamas by then, bring in some rains and for that region as we head into this is a week from now. So. But there's the heat, folks. I mean, this heat just does not go anywhere. Going into that 25th to 26th time frame, even a week from now, you're seeing those 110s today. You might get a little bit of reprieve, but then 105s plus, 110s plus in a lot of parts of Texas and to Arkansas and to Louisiana and to Mississippi and Alabama, and that goes into the end of the month, right? This is the 25th to the 27th, and this is from the 25th to the 31st, with heat continuing to build across really the same areas. There's no significant setup that's just showing me that this is going to move out, really anytime soon, folks. So this is some dangerous heat really starting to build. And so even 10 days from now on the 850 temperature is about 5,000 feet. It's all the way, all columns are hot. I mean, it's hot up in the upper levels, hot at the surface. And so that means it's really dry and just really a lot of, heat. And the drier that atmosphere gets, especially into Texas, fires is going to be a huge issue into New Mexico, Texas, and so a lot of these areas that are just begging for rainfall, and you're not going to get it. So it's going to be a huge concern going forward, as the dry vegetation is going to take little to nothing to spark a fire in that situation. So it's going to be really dangerous going forward to end the month of August, and there's not much hope on the horizon. So if we break this thing down for you, here's the Ensemble guidance for the next week. So really, gosh, of course, it's seeing that ridge of high pressure across the middle of the country. There's it sees Hilary with bringing some very heavy rain, 300 to 400%, what you would typically see this time of year. So some of these areas that only average could get 3 to 6 inches of rainfall in portions of San Diego when they only average 1/10 of an inch for the entire month. I mean, Yuma only averaged 3 inches for the entire year. They could be picking up, seeing some of their entire year's worth of rainfall just in a day or two. So that's what we're talking about, folks. This is a serious situation happening to south of California here, and going into portions of Vegas with just that very heavy rain. And even as we go into the end of the month, it still has that weakness underneath. So there is some saving grace. You have these little easterly waves that come across, but it's mainly South Texas that still gets probably some of the heavier rains and the beneficial rains, while much of the ridge of high pressure is still locked over the lot of the same areas, continuing into your, say, September 1st time frame. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me in the next update where I protect you before and after the storm.